Let's move on to another deep dive, this time about Meta. ZUCK's company is planning a major investment into AI-powered humanoid robotics. The company is aiming to be the engine powering humanoid market. X-Cruise CEO Mark Whitten to run new group in Reality Labs. This is from Mark Gurman in Bloomberg. Fantastic journalist, gets scoops all the time. It says Meta Platforms, after pushing into augmented reality and artificial intelligence, has identified its next big bet: AI-powered humanoid robots. The company is making a significant investment into the category, futuristic robots that can act like humans and assist with physical tasks, and is forming a new team within its Reality Labs division to conduct work according to people with knowledge of the matter.
So just taking a second to appreciate just the comedic reality of this. Zuck is so sick of his human employees just sitting on Instagram all day long instead of working. Yeah. I would guess that the average employee at both blue collar and sort of corporate work spends 2 hours of work time on social media. That's just totally non-productive. It's productive for Zuck.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm going to just replace all of you guys internally, and then you're just going to be able to use my apps 100% of the time.
It is funny. This is going to really heat up the fight between Elon and Zuck. So Meta has started discussing its plans with robotics companies, including Unitree Robotics. That'll be controversial. And Figure AI. At least initially, it doesn't plan to build a Meta-branded robot, something that could directly rival Tesla's Optimus, but it may consider doing so in the future, the people added. The human effort mirrors exploratory projects at other technology giants, including Apple, Alphabet, and a Meta spokesperson declined to comment.
Can you imagine going to get a coffee and it's a Meta robot barista, and it's like, yes, I will make your coffee for a 10% discount. Would you like to watch an ad? And it like watches you to make sure that you're watching the ad. And if you look away, and it's like, I'm going to pause the ad until you look back.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that patent? There's a patent either by like Sony or Samsung that it has a camera that when you're watching the TV, you have to watch the ad, and it's like the ad will keep playing until the person stands up and goes yay or something like that. It's like the most Black Mirror thing ever. It's hilarious. Let's see. They got Andrew Bosworth here with a quote. In a memo that was leaked to Bloomberg News, he says the core technologies we've already invested in and built across Reality Labs and AI are complementary to developing the advancements needed for robotics. He mentioned the company's advancements in hand tracking, computing at low bandwidth, and always-on sensors. Meta executives believe that while humanoid robotics companies have made headway in hardware, Meta's advances in artificial intelligence and data collected from augmented and virtual reality devices could accelerate progress in the nascent industry. I think this is super accurate. Alex Wang over at Scale AI was talking about data walls and how different segments of data are harder to pull from. So obviously like LLMs, we're able to just blast through and create like the world's best like Reddit user, basically. They just can answer anything because they were able to scrape the whole internet and all the text was there. So
I don't know about the world's best, maybe the average.
It's the average. It's the average. But that data just does not exist for folding laundry or running or anything like that, because we haven't thrown sensors on everyone and we haven't been tracking stuff. And you can pull data from video and stuff, but it's not the same as actually knowing exactly, okay, this bone and this joint moved like this, and that's how you grab a pen, and this is how you twirl a pen in your fingers, etc. So all of that, that there's just a lack of data. So even though we could throw a 100K GPU cluster training humanoid robotics algorithms, we just don't have the data for it. But if Zuck can and Meta can really get a lot of Quest devices in the world, and their hand tracking and their body tracking everything, then all of a sudden that becomes a really great data set.
Or you could just do reinforcement learning, which is like, would you like to earn 2 pennies for performing a task? And people would just be like, okay, and they'll just like do the task.
You're gonna get paid so much to juggle, to teach you to juggle. It's gonna be like, we need jugglers. Juggling is like the highest training data possible. Right? Highest paid training.
I love juggling. You got to learn to juggle.
I do. I'll teach it the Rubik's Cube, and you can teach it juggling, and then it'll just be the ultimate clown robot. It'd be great. And so they give some context here. Elon Musk said that Tesla's Optimus will eventually be sold to consumers and could cost around $30,000. Tesla is beginning limited production this year. Other businesses have also made headway. Boston Dynamics, which was formerly owned by Google, for instance, has already brought products to market for automation in warehouses. Some companies are focused on selling to businesses and manufacturers, while Meta's intention is to sell into homes.
So the big thing with humanoid robots that'll be interesting is, so let's say I get one of these Tesla Optimus robots and it's teleoperated primarily because they don't actually have the ability to be autonomous yet. And I have a sort of housekeeper that comes 3 times a week. But then on the off days, presumably I could have her teleoperate from home and like gather up the laundry and like put it in the dryer and then like take it out, right? Yeah. But the issue is like, if the depreciation on these humanoid robots is like what EV cars are right now, which I would imagine humanoids, if they're advancing really quickly, will have potentially even worse depreciation than a car, which has sort of like enduring value of just getting you from point A to point B. People will be having to run the calculus of like, oh, I got this humanoid robot and yeah, I had this sort of person, operating it remotely to do stuff around the house, like dishes or just like random picking up leaves in the backyard, stuff like that. But then I depreciated $80,000 in a year. I could have just had a full-time employee like just doing it. So there's going to be this weird trade-off where the technology is here, but it's not quite impactful yet, because it's like, I don't want to lose 80 grand when I could have just had like a nice human around the house.
And that's why the humanoids will probably go out in the military and industrial contexts first. And they already are. I mean, a lot of the Boston Dynamics robots are like in nuclear facilities or something where you just can't have someone patrolling all the time, but you have someone walk around. It makes a lot of sense. But
and this also, I posted about this, I think Friday night, but it came out on, I think it leaked Friday. Let me pull up the post, that Figure AI, one of the companies that Meta is actually talking to about partnering with on this stuff, because it sounds like they don't really want to do the hardware, like they want to be the software kind of layer for these. At least that's the way I'm reading into it. So Figure is they raised it like $2.5 billion last year. They're raising now at 15x the last valuation at a $39.5 billion valuation. Yeah. And so I immediately looked on Public to try to comp Figure to other, hardware consumer product companies. And I thought the best example was Ford Motors. And Ford is actually valued as of Friday less than what Figure is getting valued at. Figure, I think, has delivered a robot to BMW. A customer, but maybe it's like one. It's unclear if it's like one or maybe a handful or if they're even doing real work. Ford, on the other hand, has 185 billion of trailing, revenue over the last 12 months. And they have like 11 billion in EBITDA, and they're getting priced at less than Figure in the public markets. Wow. So you can go out there. I'm sure you can get into this round if you're really enterprising. Go and get into Figure's round. I'm sure they have room at the $3.39.5 billion valuation. Or you could buy Ford, which has $185 billion of annualized revenue. Yeah. And so anyways, choice is yours. But people are clearly...
The alternate is like, I wonder what Ford was worth when they launched the Model T. They're probably one of the most valuable companies in the world, right? Like, if you can be the bet on Figure, I mean, I know that they're not shipping and they don't have like billions of revenue or anything, but I guess the bull case is like, like whoever wins in humanoid robotics will be really valuable for a long time while everyone else plays catch up. Like, it won't be immediately commoditized because it's a hard manufacturing problem. At the same time, it's like, I also wonder how much of Tesla's market cap do you think is like humanoid based?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is Unitree has been delivering humanoid. You can go on unitree.com and basically order, I think with Apple Pay, like a humanoid robot right now. And so China is trying to do the same thing that they did with drones, and where they sort of release these things presumably at a loss to try to flood the market. And so it's going to be very competitive. I'm glad that Figure is competing in the space. I'm glad that many others are trying to play as well. I just invested in a company that's using robotics for data centers, which is sort of a more niche but potentially massive category of like labor, basically that robots.
And it's all hyper flat surfaces, so you can use like wheels and stuff reliably. Yeah.